أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran for tuning in to Medical Matters. And today we want to start reflecting on what the Hajj was during 2022, which is 1444 in the Hijrah calendar. And with me today I have no better person to talk of the past experience of Hajj. And this is Sheigh Kashief Damon. I've known Sheikh Kashief for the last 20 years, but he's been going for Hajj and for Umrah for more than 30 years by now. And to speak of the caliber of the man, before I actually let him say anything, there was one particular year where on the day of Arafah, Sheikh came to me and he said he's not feeling that well. He had a temperature which I measured of close to 40 degrees, but Sheikh made an amanah to a group of more than 200 people to lead them from Arafah to Muzdalifah, and then from Muzdalifah to Mina, and then to Makkah to perform the Tawaf al-Ifada. And I told Sheikh, there's no way you can go. Sheikh said, no, I am going. His wife, Zainab, was with us that year, and I went to her, and she said, there's nothing she can do to this gentleman. If he promised 200 odd people that he's going to lead them, he will do that. And but what else could I do? I just had to give the man how many injections? I think maybe 3 along the way. But there was no way I was going to be able to stop him from fulfilling his promise to the people. That
Alhamdulillah.
So I welcome Sheikh Kashief Damon,
Ahlan.
friend,
Alhamdulillah.
colleague,
Alhamdulillah.
teacher,
Alhamdulillah.
a real inspiration, a
Ameen.
person.
Ameen.
As I've just gave an example to.
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, and salam to the viewers. Alhamdulillah. Indeed, Doc, yeah, those are the things that needs to be done for Hujjat. You know, they are the guests of Allah. And the one pride I take into it is that if they're the guests of Allah, and then Allah has chosen me to be the servant to serve them, to give a service that is due from Allah to them. So I'm the one that has to do those kind of things. And I think Doc is in the same line as me, you know, a person that's always eager to run the extra mile for the Hujjaj, you understand, knowingly that we're serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a very special way. And yes, we shukr Allah for granting us the ability to be able to do that. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And both of us came back from Hajj this year, 2023, like I've already mentioned. It was, maybe we're getting older, you know, maybe our physical reserves aren't the same as it was before, but things seems to be changing over the last couple of years. And I just want to put a few of the issues that we come across during Hajj time. And this is for those people who've been accredited for 1445, and that is 2024 next year. And just as an introduction, I mean, we know that the portal is live now, so there's a dynamic list open at the moment. And South Africa has been given a quota of 2,500 confirmed already. We know it might be more, and in 1 year, for some reason, it was lessened to 2,000, but it's unlikely to happen. So it's only going to stay at 2,500, most likely, or we might get an increase.
Inshallah.
So the people who are on the first 2,500 list, and they can check the position on the portal, but more likely 2,200 are virtually assured of going.
Ameen.
So I think from our point of view, those who are ready to go and know they have the funds for it, they should indicate that they are going. And those who are not ready to go should now already inform SAUC that they want to delay, want to postpone it, because they might not have the funds, for example. There might be a baby on the way, you know, where the baby might just be born during the Hajj of next year. So those people who are on the first 2,500 should preferably let SAUC know immediately, so that the next in line will have enough time to prepare. We know that this past year people literally had 5 days to get ready for Hajj, and that's not the real preparations we want.
Yes. Indeed, you know, we as a South African group of Hujjaj, we are always spoiled with the concept of doing certain things before we want to leave, you understand?
Right.
So if it's too on to the travel date, you understand, and it becomes tedious, it becomes troublesome for us to be able to do those things. That is besides the greeting of people and all those kind of things, and it doesn't really sink in, it's too fast. So they literally didn't really gel with this whole concept of Hajj and stuff like that. So Yeah, I think just to speed up the process and to make sure that people get credited in time for Hajj.
Absolutely.
The
But
soon as you can let people know is best.
And that's a great part of the Cape tradition. I mean,
Yeah.
there's books written about it.
Beautiful.
Hajj, yes, is 5 days, but for Cape Townians especially, it's not 5 days.
Yeah, no.
It's a year at least. So let's start the preparation
Yes.
now already.
Yes,
So
yes.
if those who cannot go next year,
Yeah.
please indicate to SAU that you
Yeah.
cannot go, so that those next in line will know that they're able to go.
Precisely.
But Sheikh, what I wanted to concentrate on today was it's just that we can always talk about the spiritual part of Hajj, but one part of it that we must take cognizance of is the physical part. And I just want to show a few slides on the screen now. And this photo was taken by Isa Alexander, well-known colleague of ours who's been he's a great leader as well during the days of Hajj and preceding that. And this is the type of crowds that we're going to be seeing during the time of Hajj. If we're performing a tawaf, for example, it's not that easy during the time of Hajj. Because this is the crowds that we see. I mean, we're literally going to see people up to 9 per square meter during the time of Hajj trying to perform a tawaf. So if you're not on the mataf, where even there it can take you more than an hour.
Yes.
On the roof, it's taken me 1 year, about 2 hours to perform one tawaf.
Allah
So you
Akbar.
have to walk. Similarly, I just need to get the best next picture. If you see this next photograph, also taken by Isa Alexander, our brother, who's a well-known photographer, you'll see the cave of Hira there.
Yeah.
But to get up to Jabal Nur, you have to walk.
Yes, you have to. Yes.
I mean, how was it this year going up Jabal Nur, Sheikh?
No,
I didn't go
alhamdulillah.
up.
Yeah,
I couldn't
indeed,
go
you know, in fact, if you look at Hajj, you know, people always fight to be close to the Haram, but even the closest point to the Haram is 500 meters away from the doors of the Haram. Understand?
That's before you even get inside.
Before you even get inside, and when you get inside, there's still, every ibadah inside is to do with walking. So the tawaf in itself, the sa'i in itself, it's 2.5 kilometers in total, or 1.5 kilometers in total that you must cover, you know, in terms of the distance that you need to walk. So climbing of Jabal Nur can take you an hour and a half, sometimes 2. We sometimes take the people before Fajr, by Tahajjud time, and then they come down by the waqt of Fajr. You understand? So yes, if you have conditions like heart conditions, you know, you need to exercise in order to be able to do these things. So this is a climb, not a climb, it's like a very steep walk up the mountain. So Hajj is not so steep in terms of heights and hills, but distance is definitely an issue. You understand? So Jabal Nur, alhamdulillah, we had people that forgot their tablets at home, and they had to just, you know, that first piece before you get to the mountain.
Before you even start.
This before you could start the mountain.
Yes,
they only
absolutely.
like went halfway up there, and they said, you know, they need the tabs.
Yes, but they're also not fit enough. But we'll talk about that.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
that first initial,
Yeah,
I think it's less than 100 meters, but
Yeah.
it is steep.
It's
It is
very
really
steep, yeah.
Where the taxi drops
It's
you.
like
and
town,
we-
yeah. It's that Pepper
Walk-
Street.
Maybe
up,
that's
walk up.
that's a good place to start exercising.
Exercising, that's very important, inshallah ta'ala.
Okay, but we want to get to Arafah, and that's
Yeah.
a photo of Arafah that I've just flagged now.
Mm.
But what we need to remember, and we knew this year as well, the temperature was 40 degrees on Arafah, and it was unpleasant in the tents. And I think at one stage, and there's another photo of what happens in the
The
tents.
tents, yeah.
The air cons are supposed to work, but people were so closely jam-packed, like literally like sardines.
Yes.
And remember, people are breathing. They are, they're exhaling carbon dioxide. They're exhaling heat. So what happened there was that, yes, the temperature was 38 degrees inside the tent, but the humidity was 38%, sometimes 40%. And I actually took some pictures with the experiments that we were doing. And what that means, Sheikh, is that the humidity, we call it the heat index, was so high that it was actually dangerous for people to be inside the tents.
Yes.
And for older people, we would actually, the effect was that it was so high that it was actually dangerous for them that they could get heat strokes and they could collapse. And I know what Sheikh did. I mean, he opened up, and what did Sheikh advise the people to do?
Yeah. The most important thing, I think, in Arafah's cases, you need to have ventilation. In other words, the sides of the flaps must be able to become openable, even though the blowers is there.
Right.
But the blowers at the end of, for example, we coming there at about 11 o'clock or sometimes 10 o'clock in the morning, if that blower is on until Dhuhr time, I've sat in a bus with fully blown air conditioning. You understand, one day when I was driving between Medina and Mecca on a hot summer's day, and then even the aircon of the bus could not cool the people inside the bus.
Right.
And that's the type of heat we're looking at. So natural ventilation is always very important. So like Doc has said, it was sometimes better to be outside, even though there was some shades. I had to be in the shades just a little bit, but the air, it was a bit more cooler because there was a breeze coming through.
Absolutely.
So the heat of Makkah, I see there's 40, but I think there was a stage that it was a little bit more than 40 degrees. You understand?
Close to 50 at one stage, yes, and the humidity made it worse.
Yeah.
So I know what most of the groups did. I know the group Sheikh was leading. People took their mattresses outside.
I suggested that. Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
It was, in fact, we were happy that the shuyukh advised that, because staying inside the tents would have led to people, because of the heat index, would have led them to sweat. But because it's so humid in there, that water doesn't evaporate. So the temperature goes up. And the other thing that we find there, people don't want to drink. So they get dehydrated. And maybe Sheikh was just touch on that.
Yes. I don't know, maybe it's a phobia for the toilet that is in Arafah, alhamdulillah. But the nutrition is very important, you understand? And I know people have a phobia for the toilets. That is the done deal. I know of a person that wanted to pay at the last 24th hour, prepared to pay about 160,000 rand just for better toilet facilities. You understand? On the 5 days of Hajj, on the Mina particularly. The issue is, Jamaatul Muslimin, it's like a camping site. And if we don't eat in those heats, trying to stay away from the loos in the toilets, then you're just setting yourself up for disaster, you understand? And the other thing that I want to highlight to the Hujjaj, if you are on Mina and on Arafah, for example, Mina per se, on the 3 days of Tashriq, there's no potential transportation that can come fetch you on the camps of Mina and take you to any nearest facility. Whoever's taking you must put you in a wheelchair and push you there, or you must be able to walk there. So if you don't take cognizance of these kind of small issues by eating the right food and eating enough, Doc, I'm not the person that loves eating, you understand? But on the 5 days itself, I make sure I eat and I make sure that I drink, you understand? It's
exactly
a basic advice
that's what we always advise people. And even this year, even though the Saudis had so many facilities in place, thousands of people had heat exhaustion.
Yes,
I mean,
precisely.
we know from the statistics. And at the about 30 years ago in 1985 was a worst statistics. There was a study done where 2,000 people had heat strokes and 1,000 of them passed away.
Allah
So
Akbar.
50% of them passed away, and tens of thousands were actually admitted to hospital. And what we do know, and this is the advice we from a medical perspective give, is that to avoid that type of exposure to heat and to get acclimatized to it, people should go for as long as they can. In other words, if their leave allows them, they should go for as long as they can.
A longer period.
And also be as fit as they can.
Yes. I think fitness is actually the name of the game. That is the priority within Hajj. People must try to focus on the fitness level. And the reason for this, Doc, if I want to run a marathon for that matter, right, which means I'm not overweight, I'm okay, and I want to run, and I did not run at least about 4 10Ks a week for 2 months, I'll never be able to finish that marathon. Understand? So in other words, people take it for granted. Some people told me, no, I'm working in the building trade, I walk up, down scaffold. You to walk the distance between Arafah and Makkah is 21 kilometers. Right? That is the longest distance between Arafah and Makkah. So in other words, in the interim of your distance from Muzdalifah, you're going to walk at least to the Jamarat itself. You're going to at least about 3.5 kilometers you're going to walk.
And that's if the cops don't push you to one
To a
side and
different
give you a
way.
diversion.
And
In
this
fact,
is-
let me show people
Yeah.
what it looks like.
That's
You know,
Muzdalifah then.
But what you see now is Muzdalifah.
Yeah.
This is, if you take the bus from Arafah, it has to drop you. It's not going to take you to your camp. It's going to drop you on Muzdalifah. And this is, in fact, this is where I was sitting this past year.
Yes.
But from there, and Sheikh was going to elaborate on it, there's no way that you can avoid this. You're going to
Yeah.
walk from there.
Those buses that's standing there on top of the bridge, those buses is just standing there to show there is buses, but it's not exposed, it's not to our disposal at all, you understand?
Absolutely.
You can just look at the bus and admire the quality of the bus, but that's the closest you will ever get to those buses, you understand?
Right.
So from there, it is like a mass walk, right? And that is from there to the Jamarat itself. From here to the camp is about 1.3 kilometers. The
Right.
camp that the South Africans is. From the camp of South African camp is another 2.9 kilometers to the Jamarat. And from the Jamarat to the bus station where you have to catch a bus, which means you must fight for the bus yourself, is another 1.5 kilometers.
So it's at least 5 kilometers, including up the ramp to the Jamarat as
Jamarat,
well.
yeah.
So it is a minimum that you have to walk of at least 5
And
to
just
6
imagine you
kilometers.
didn't hydrate
Yep.
properly for the day before that.
So that's why we're talking about
Yeah.
eating and drinking adequately.
Yeah.
You know, and we actually did a survey this year. 89% of people of whom we surveyed said that they had to walk from Muzdalifah to Arafah. From Muzdalifah to Mina, and then obviously go to Makkah from there. But also 2/3, remember, once we're back in Azizia, after doing our tawaf and so forth, we have to go back to Mina.
Yes.
That's a couple of kilometers
Yes,
as well.
again.
In the heat, it often
yes.
is as well. There's no transport
Yes,
in
yes,
there.
yes.
So the one day you're going to go at least 6 kilometers, if not more, probably 10 Ks. And you have to go back to Mina with the next day, which is going to be another 5 kilometers.
I think that is the serious part. The 3 days of Tashriq is actually the serious part of it, because the 3 days of Tashriq always happens from after Zawal onwards till Maghrib.
Right.
So in other words, if you're walking in that space of time, then you're exposing yourself to that kind of heat. And the up is not a problem, but coming back, because now the emotions is running high when you go up, because you
Right.
want to get to the Jamarat. But once you come back, and all those emotions settle, and then we have a tendency to be detoured. No, they send you,
Absolutely.
when you go up, they send you one road, but when you come back, you detour a different route, and then you have to cut in by the right cut. If you miss that cut, then you must go up again and come back the other way. Those are the things that pushes you.
It happened to my group.
Yes.
We left at 4 o'clock, and there was a group that left at 5 o'clock. The 5 o'clock group was back before we were,
Yes.
because of how we were diverted by the
Diverted
police.
by the police officers.
And, so it just happens to be the luck of the draw at certain times. And it's frustrating to us.
Yes, yes.
You know, but the other part of being able to walk is that we again ask people, did they have feet problems? 40% of them said they either had blisters, infections, swelling, pain, and so forth. And we know it from other studies. A lot of people do get these type of problems. So before we even start walking, for the 5 days of Hajj, what would Sheikh suggest people should, I'm talking about the males. Ladies obviously can wear anything they want, but
Yeah.
what should males be wearing?
I was going to say something now, but the ladies can wear any footwear. But men, you must literally, any person, any male that is now eligible for Hajj for this year,
Right.
I want you to go on a tangent where you're going to say, for the next few weeks or months, I'm going to try out different sandals
Right.
that is eligible to be used on Hajj in terms of your madhab, so that you can have a shoe or a sandal that is comfortable for the distance. Because you're gonna have a shoe, you should have a sandal that it can give you a comfort of a taki
Right.
for the distance that you're going to walk. You understand? Because we are not sandal people at home. We got different shoes that carries us through the week and through the year. Right? So those are the things that I might advise Hujjaj with, you understand? So make an effort, go down to the shops and get shoes, get somebody to look at your feet, There's so many places nowadays that can make an assessment of your foot.
And trap it in.
And walk into it so that it can
Right.
be something that you will be able to walk with comfortably. And the issue that doctors just mentioned are this blister story.
Yeah.
And I've seen people with so big blisters on their foot. And remember, the moment you have blisters on that level, then you're not mobile. You can't walk.
Right.
Which means, how are you going to walk on your heels it's difficult to walk for a kilometer on your heels and stuff like that. So make sure that your footwear is sorted out. And I always put some extra effort on that, inshallah ta'ala.
And we know the story. You have a problem with that you can't walk from Muzdalifah to Mina. A guy will come up with a wheelchair and charge you 500 riyals just to push you. I've had people who paid 200 riyals this year just to be pushed 1 kilometer. They couldn't walk, and we didn't have, in our group, we didn't have anything. Right? So from my perspective, and Sheikh started this 15 years ago, you know, when I first met Sheikh, he's taking people on walks and so forth. So if people have been know they're going on Hajj, yes, they must spiritually start preparing. Yes, they must attend classes, and Sheikh runs quite a few classes. Alhamdulillah. Very well attended, very well received as well. But I think I want Sheikh to just elaborate for a minute or two on the importance of starting to walk, like the Fit for Hajj program we've ran for the last couple of years. Sheikh is an integral part of it. Sheikh might not be there for every walk, but Sheikh was really one of the inspirations behind it. What should people start doing now already as far as Fit for Hajj is concerned?
Yes, for sure. In regards to Hajj itself, you know, I just mentioned the longest distance between Arafah and Makkah. The shortest is 20 and the longest is 21 kilometers. So that is besides your tawaf and your sa'i. That's besides walking from the haram back to the hotel. Understand? To the bus station to get you back to the hotel. And then there's a lot of walking in here. So my advice, right, and this is South African Muslims, I don't know other countries, they're very spoiled. They literally stay up the road by the shop and they drive with their cars. You know, I'm advising people, the Sunday walks is enough, but you need to do more. You know, for Hajj, you don't need to be run fit, you need to be walk fit. Which means, you know, with that, there is also breathing exercise, breathing techniques, you know. You say to a person, you're not breathing properly, he says, but I'm breathing, you know, otherwise, you know, there is different types of breathing that feeds the cells and feeds the legs and stuff like that. So those are the things that it becomes very important in a Hajj's life. Because if you get stuck, for example, shortly after, even at Muzdalifah, if you get stuck and you can't walk anymore from that point, like Doc said, firstly, from that point to wherever you need to go, there is no wheelchairs. The closest point to the wheelchair that you're going to get is if you get to the bridge, the first bridge that exits you from the Manasik to Azizia. Right. That's the closest point to a wheelchair that you will get. Right? So there the charges will come from there to your hotel, which is a kilometer away, 500, 200, 300 riyals, you know, per wheelchair. Right? So there's no way that we will be able to facilitate any Hajj with any form of means of conveyance if anything happens between Muzdalifah and the Jamarat. Understand? Right. So you need to fully hydrate and also be able to walk the distance, inshallah. Amen. And not fast, but a comfortable pace that will keep you with the crowd.
Yeah, and I always emphasize that. I mean, Sheikh does 10 kilometers in 30 minutes. I
Allah
do it in more than an hour. Even if it takes you 2 hours,
yeah,
you know, 3 hours even, as long as you're able to do the distance at a comfortable pace.
Yeah, exactly. You know, as a Hajj worker, a person that works with the Hujjats, the idea is never as fit as I always want to be. You understand? And we never walk away from the Haji. But remember, if the Haji, if there is 300 Hujjats or 700 Hujjats, then we will stay with the one that is the weakest, but we also have to consider the one that needs guidance, because in the Hajj situation, if you look at Hajj from the time in I will say as close as 1996, 97, 98, from those years onwards, the Hujjats were comfortable. Right? Why? Because there was a lot of repeat Hujjats. So it is always 2 Hujjaj in the group or 5 Hujjaj per 10 that is repeat Hajjis.
Right.
So which means that the repeat Hajjis will guide you, turn left here, turn right there. At this moment in time with the new dispensation, 2,500 Hujjaj depends on 10 workers to give them all the info and all the directions and all the turns and all the stops and all the places that need to be within the time of Hajj. So if I sit with a Hajj at the back here and there's 100 in front of me, they are lost. You getting the privilege of me over here. You understand?
We experience that.
We experience it, yeah. We
You know,
experience it this year.
absolutely. And you know, from a medical point of view, and Sheikh knows this already. I mean, we did a study in 2018 where we showed that the fitter you are, the less likely you are to get infections and injuries. I mean, about 15% of the Fit for Hajj group of 2018 got sick. 60% of the rest of the population got sick. So there's a clear benefit of being fit, besides all the advantages Sheikh has already mentioned. Also, we found that people who they was emotionally and spiritually better off after the Hajj than before.
Because they focus.
So
Yeah.
it's worthwhile starting a particular program now.
Now already. It's
You know, and
extremely
not
important.
wait, not till later on.
Yeah.
We repeated the studies, so we're waiting for the results to come out. But it seems to show similar trends for the 2023 Hajj, inshallah. You know, so again, from my perspective, as one of the initiators of Fit for Hajj, we want people to look at the Fit for Hajj website. I've put it on the screen just now. I know Sheikh is an advocate for it. The website will be up and running by the end of this month, but there is some information on there already that people can access.
Very important.
So inshallah, and Sheikh will often be around. We'll call on Sheikh's expertise.
Yeah, it's just like on the Saturday, it's a bit tough for me. I've got class.
We'll make a plan to get Sheikh even before that.
But I think what we must do is, Doc, is just in line with the Fit for Hajj program. Maybe we must do 2 programs concurrent on a Sunday and on a Saturday. You know, so that we can facilitate both. Because somebody is people that is also not able to do it.
You know, the Fit for Hajj program runs on volunteer fitness experts. They are absolutely amazing. I mean, they're really world class, firstly, as far as their knowledge is concerned. They are superb as far as their dedication is concerned. They're there every week. So it'll be dependent on how easily available
they are. No problem.
But inshallah, we will.
But the Sunday doesn't have to be under that type of supervision. You know, I'm not a doctor, but I can at least teach people how to get their minds off from a distance.
Inshallah, the more volunteers we have, here we are again calling for volunteer doctors, for example, to be, to fill in where possible, and volunteer fitness instructors and so forth. Please come on board. We want to expand it. Alhamdulillah, we had it in Durban this year and in Johannesburg. Our base is in Cape Town because most of us are here. But inshallah, we will see what we can do as far as we can assist each and every Haji.
The plus on it is for those who volunteers. Every step of the way when that Haji goes through that ibadah, you understand, they will also get the rewards of it, alhamdulillah. So that's a plus, inshallah. So we call upon volunteers, inshallah, to come forward and assist us, inshallah ta'ala.
Sheikh, it was an absolute honor to have you. Yeah, I know you had to be somewhere else already. I really appreciate the fact that you stayed a few extra minutes, firstly, that you made yourself available for the Hujjaj. And I know that next year you'll be again a real mountain of support to thousands of Hujjaj. Inshallah, Allah guide you, preserve you, and inshallah, Allah will let us walk together again from Arafah like we used to for years and years.
Yeah, no, Doc has got a special dua. I don't know how does he get it right, you know. I think 2 weeks before I left, he still said, Sheikh, I'm waiting for a visa. So just give that dua to me so that I can, because the next month I see the guys on his way to Arafah. So alhamdulillah, Allah's blessed you with a lot of gifts, alhamdulillah. And I think the one thing that stands out for me as a co-worker with you is the diligentness and the eagerness. Now I used to carry Doc's bag and then used to examine people in the alleys of Mina. I'd open your mouth and see your ear right here. This is the tablets.
Let's teach people as well. Alhamdulillah.
So may Allah bless you with khairat, your family. May Allah grant your late family and parents, inshallah, high place in Jannat. Ameen,
Ameen,
for your
inshallah.
efforts that you're doing. Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen.
And
Khairiyat.
Sheikh, so inshallah we'll
Ameen.
work together again.
Ameen.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.